Hey everybody, Dawson here, and today we are going to be writing an equation from a graph. So you're going to need to have your Cornell notes on this, so please get those out. And this is your topic objective, is writing an equation from a graph. That goes up in the very top part of your thing. Don't forget to put your name in there, class period, date, all that good stuff. Your essential question today is, how do I write an equation if I only have 2 coordinate points? So that's what we're going to be doing today. We have 2 coordinate points here. You are going to need to write an equation from that. And so there's actually, I'll be honest with you, there is a shortcut where you don't even need to make a graph. But it's a little bit harder. And those of you doing the challenge work, that's what you're going to be doing later this week. But for everybody right now, I want everybody to be able to write an equation given 2 coordinate points. And we're going to do that by making a graph of it. So let's start off by plotting these 2 points. Go ahead and plot these 2 points on your graph, pause it, and then we'll check your work. Okay, so you should have written, if we're going to go to the first point, 2, -1, the first number is always your x, so that's a plus 2x, and the second number is your y, it's a -1y, so that's our point right there. -2, -3, start at the origin all the time. -2x, -3y. So it always goes x, y. Now we're going to connect that with a line. You're going to need to use a ruler, of course. And I will just use this straight line tool, which is a bit more difficult. But I can do it. I know I can. And so we'll get that part done. And then you're going to... let's try to get this as accurate as possible. Okay, so we have the 2 points done, and we have our line on there. And so let's think back to what we already know. We already know that you have this equation basic setup, y equals mx plus b. So we already have that. And with y equals mx plus b, that's our slope-intercept form. So if we're given a graph and we can figure out what our slope is and what our y-intercept is, then we can write an equation for it. And so that's what our job is here, is to try to find our slope and y-intercept given 2 coordinate points. And you should be taking notes on this. You're going to have 4 of these 4 quadrant graphs. We're going to go through 4 sets of coordinate points for tonight's homework. Okay, first let's talk about slope. And some of you may remember this because we've done it before. But with slope, the slope equals the rise over the run. Slope equals rise over run. Now what does that mean? Well, the rise is how much, if we draw a right triangle, let's do that, and then come over this way. If we draw a right triangle, well, that's a really bad right triangle, but the idea here is that it's going to rise from this coordinate point to this coordinate point. It's going up 2 units. That's my rise, 2. My run is how far it goes across the bottom, and I always think of it as the run is what you run along. You can't run up a wall, but you can run along a flat street. 1, 2, 3, 4. My run is 4 in this case. There's 4 spaces between those 2. So then my rise is 2. My run is 4. And so we always need to simplify this as much as we can. So if we have a fraction 2/4, we can simplify that into 1/2. So our slope for this equation is 1/2. Now the y-intercept is just what it sounds like. It's where the line crosses the y-axis, where it intercepts the y-axis. And that point is right here. And so when we count from here, this is my origin. It goes -1, -2. So my y-intercept is -2. Well, that's cool. Now we have our slope, we have our y-intercept, and what we want to do now is use our standard form, y equals mx plus b. M stands for slope, b stands for y-intercept. So the y is going to equal, I'm going to plug in 1/2 for my slope, because that's what we said our slope was. 1/2 x plus whatever b is. And in this case, our y-intercept is -2. Okay, now some of you say, wait a second, plus a negative? Do I have to write it that way? No, you don't have to. You can also write it 1/2 x minus 2. It's the same thing. Plus a -2 is the same thing as -2. It works out. So you can use either one of those two. All right, let's look at the next example. Here's our 2 points. Go ahead and plot those points and try to find your slope. Try to find your slope. Plot these 2 points and try to find the slope. Pause the video and then come back. Okay, so if we go over 3, up 6, let's see how you did. And then 5 plus 8. There's 6, 7, 8. There's my 2 coordinate points right there. Okay, let's draw a line. Well, that's pretty good the first time. Nice. Okay. And let me just use a different color for doing this part here. We have, when we find our slope, we know our slope needs to be rise over run. And yes, you need to take notes on every single time. I want you to write out rise over run because it's so important to remember that. Here's my rise. Here's my run. In this case, they're the same thing, 2 over 2. And when you simplified, you should have gotten for your slope a 1. So that's your slope of 1. Okay, go ahead and stop the video and find your y-intercept now. Y-intercept. Okay, let's see how you did on y-intercept. Here's my y-intercept. And here's where the line crosses the y-axis. Here's my origin, +1, +2. Crosses at +3. Right there, +3. All right, now we write our equation. Of course, our equation's in y = mx + b format. And so my slope is m, my y-intercept is b. Go ahead and write your equation. All right, see how you did. Y equals, and there's a couple ways you can do this. You can write it out 1x + 3, or you can write it y equals x + 3. Those are the same thing. Okay, you don't have to write the 1 in front, but you can if you like. All right, nice. So that's 2 of our 4 equations. Let's look at the next one. Again, I want you to plot the points, find the slope. Go ahead and find the slope and the y-intercept of these, and then I'll pause it and I'll do it for you. All right, let's see how you did. -3 + 4, that's our first point. And then 3, 0 is our second point. Draw our line. Not as good of a line this time. Okay. Try to get it right through those points if I can. There, that looks pretty good. All right, so there's my my 2 points. There's my line, and so I will make my little triangle here. And then this triangle happens to run right along the x-axis there. So this one is 4, and this one is 6. So my slope is equal to the rise over the run. And in this case, the rise was 4 and the run was 6. Simplify it, divide both top and the bottom by 2, and I get 2/3. 2/3. All right. Now, I gotta be honest with you. There's something a little bit wrong with my answer here. If you look at this line, you'll notice it goes down when I go from left to right. Anytime a line goes down from left to right, it's a negative slope. So this slope should be negative. Let's go back and look at the last 2 examples. This one goes up from left to right. This one goes up from left to right. So both of those are positive. This one is negative because it goes down from left to right. Okay, and how would I know that if I was to be writing an actual, like if I just wanted to use this? Well, if I start at one point, I go down 4, and I go plus 6. And so that would be a negative 4 and a plus 6. When I simplify, I just end up with negative 2/3. I'm not sure if that made sense to you, but that's the basic concept behind here. The easier way is just to look at the graph and say, oh, hey, this line goes down, therefore it's a negative slope. But you always have to remember to look. That's important. Okay, y-intercept, I asked you to find that too at the same time. In this case, the y-intercept is right here, which is at plus 2. So go ahead and write your equation. Pause it and write your equation. All right, our equation again is in y equals mx plus b form. And slope in this case was negative 2/3. So y equals negative 2/3 x plus, and our y-intercept was 2. So there's our equation. Y equals negative 2/3 x plus 2. All right, one last problem. Here it is. Plot the point. Try to write the equation all the way through. And remember, pay attention. Is this a negative slope or a positive slope? Okay, go ahead. All right, let's see how you did. Negative 1 plus 2 is my point there. And then 0, positive 6. Sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's right there. Draw my line. It's a steep line. Okay, there it is there. There we go. Okay. So now, here's my line. Here's going to be my little triangle for finding the slope. So the slope in this case is the rise over the run. And that's going to be equal to, now this one's 4, because it goes up 4, and 1. So rise of 4, run of 1. In this case, 4 divided by 1, well, that's just 4. Positive or negative, it goes up from left to right, so it's a positive slope. Great. Y-intercept equals, and this point right here, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So my y-intercept is 6. Now check this out. You notice 0, 6, whenever x is 0, that's my y-intercept. And if you remember, when we looked at a table, and that's my x values, that's my y values, if whenever x is 0, it's whatever number is on this side under y, that's going to be your y-intercept. So just a little connection there for you. Equation, y equals 4x plus 6. So those are our 4 equations. Hopefully you learned a lot from that, and you're going to be able to write some equations from that. Now, I also want you to write your questions in your Cornell notes. I want you to write some questions for each one of these problems. Pick one. I was thinking, for example, a good question would be, what is the slope? So, for example, what is the slope? Well, the slope is rise over run. So it just kind of helps. Again, you can use it to study from later. So another one, you can ask, how do you find the slope if the rise is this and the run is this, or something like that. Those are going to be some of your questions. All right, well, good luck on your questions, and here is your joke for today. What did the triangle say to the circle? You're pointless. Oh, gosh, these things are so bad. All right, have a good one, everybody. See ya later.